as far as I'm concerned, that's looking pretty good. Because it sure looks better than this pile. That's the engine that came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what got dragged out of there.
That doesn't even look like a Ford engine.
It is, a little Ford 390.
Yep.
It did good. It just let go. Burn oil like crazy and had bad head gaskets. But it didn't come apart, like it didn't grenade or anything, so it's still perfectly rebuildable. So if anybody wants a perfectly rebuilt, no, scratch that. If anybody wants a rebuilt 390 built to their specs, give us a call. Okay, so now we have the oil pan bolted on the bottom, oil pump, pickup, all of that fun stuff. Yes, I did remember the distributor drive shaft that drives the oil pump. Now I know we have some valve covers that are missing. You're gonna laugh, but we have one missing push rod. We're waiting for one missing push rod, but I could put the engine in without the one missing push rod. So next step, put the motor mounts on the sides of the engine and start set it in the frame, and then the transmission right on the side there in the back. That goes in. By the way, I do have a bigger stall torque converter for this thing. And a brand new, this is a brand new, freshly rebuilt C6 transmission. We'll talk about that next. Okay, so now it's pretty much the moment we've been waiting for quite a long time. Getting this power plant, and I do mean power plant, into that truck frame right there. And it goes. Once it goes in, I can bolt the engine mounts down, give her a little support laterally, and then I can put the transmission in. Oh, there she sits. She's in the cradle. Just gotta put the transmission in it and then start figuring out how to get the headers in there. So now the engine is in. It's just sitting in the cradle. The engine mounts are loose. The next step is to get the headers in. The transmission is in. Transmission cross member is bolted down tight. All of that's done. The thing is now I gotta try to start squeezing the headers in this gap here. And if you see that hole back there, that's where the starter goes. The question is, can I get the headers in with the starter bolted on, or do I have to get the headers in loosely, put the starter in, then bolt the headers down completely? Then of course on this side you have fitment issues there as well, because you're tight against the gearbox. It's a little more room here, but looks can be deceiving. I've learned that the hard way multiple times with those. Everybody's put headers in 3 cars, especially equal length headers. You know how much a bitch that can be. Rebuilt transmission. And the bottom of the engine. So the exhaust will come here on this side and over there where the radius arm is. Okay, here we are. The engine is in. We had to use the cherry picker to hold the front of the engine up. Hold the front of the engine up so we could get the headers. So far, so good. Only bad news is the headers have to be kind of half unbolted and swinging to be able to get the starter to fit between the engine, the frame, and the headers that's with the front of the engine elevated with the cherry picker. Here's the other side. This side proved to be the absolute easiest. There's no starter to contend with. So everybody loves headers. Headers are definitely more free-flowing, especially equal length headers. They sound nicer. If you ever heard a 2-dual exhaust system from manifolds and from headers, the headers is more like sweet music to your ear. However, custom life or race life or however you want to look at it. Yeah, there's still the plastic on the collector. Is your starter. Very hard to see. Get some light on the subject. Voila, here we are. There we have our starter. From what I'm reading, race car starters don't seem to fit with this make model. And the header should ride right about there. So in effect, to put the starter in, not only do I have to swing the headers out, I have to lift the engine a little bit, which is why you see it is not mounted on solidly. The cherry picker is still holding it. But the transmission is bolted down. The only other way to make more clearance is to take this cross member out and then lower the back of the cross member down. So, with that being said, to change the starter, the header has to be removed. This top bolt back there has to be taken off the headers. Headers pulled down this way. And then there's just enough room between the oil pan and the headers and the frame. Well, the frame limits the headers, I should say. But anyway, there's just enough room to get that starter up in there and bolt it down and tighten nice. And even that becomes a little more difficult. What I was doing is I was having Matthew take, I don't know how well this video is going to come out, take the, let's see, here we go. That's the starter. Matthew took a long extension and fished it right alongside the engine block from the front. Matthew, with the radiator and air conditioning condenser removed, there's plenty of room to stand in front of this thing. So that's how we got that top one, because that one's a little bit bitchy. These other two bolts, those aren't so hard to get from the bottom. You just have to deal with the limited space. So in the end, headers, no headers. I'm going to tell you like this. Headers require more maintenance, more time. In my opinion, well worth it. For a daily driver, you'd better buy a quality set of headers. The only quality set of headers I found that fit this truck, that engine, was head mount. That's what are in there right now. The headers are just hanging there for now. They'll be final bolted up later. But they're in. And they ain't gonna be able to come out unless they take the front of the engine and lift it again. But that's how it looks as of now. Of course, I'm still waiting on that one push rod. Today is Sunday, so they're not delivering it today. But I could continue working on the fuel system. You'll love this little trick. That'll be on most likely the next video, if not midway in this one. Okay, so the engine is now in, the transmission is now in, and the headers are hanging off the top bolts right now, so I can move them around. I need to still install the starter wire in there, and I have to reroute that so the headers don't melt it. I have to be able to move them. Any other reason I may have to shift anything around for any future mods that I'm getting ready to install in here, it's better to have the headers a little loose right now. The transmission, by the way, was rebuilt prior to going in. It was rebuilt at a place in Appleton called Van Lynn's Transmissions. Give my boy Dave a call. He's really good with this vintage stuff. This transmission is a C6 Ford. Not too many people running around with that stuff. But believe it or not, that shop has parts for this in stock. They're good people. It's a great shop. Extreme. I mean, where he bench builds these things, he can eat off the floor. I've seen this place personally. It's by far the best transmission shop I've seen. Link is in the description below. So, like I said, here's his information. Give my boy Dave a call. Tell him I sent you. We're running a 2,000 RPM stall converter in this transmission. The stock one was about 1,600, I'm told. That's a little bit more streetable. Most guys go with like 2,500 RPM, even as much as 3,500 RPM. That's way crazy. It's not a strip vehicle. This is more street. If it ever does see strip, it's just to see what it's going to do. But it's not primarily going to be racing. primarily this truck is simply just going to be a very potent daily driver. Now, you will also notice square bore intake ready for a carburetor. But we're not running one of these. Although this could be rebuilt and made to look nice and work absolutely great, we're not running one of these. Old carburetor. I got something else in mind for you. And you'll absolutely love that. That's an excellent mod coming up. That's something my son absolutely wanted in this truck. Makes it much more streamable. As always, please like this video, subscribe to the channel. I am Steve Feschek. This is Feschek Speed and Custom Shop. I got Matthew Feschek holding the camera for you, doing an awesome job. What can I build for you? Even if I hated Kim, I grit my teeth and I try to make it work with her at least.
Where's my snare? I have no snare in my headphones. There you go. Yeah. Yo.